What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I just want to touch on you guys about the fight that we witnessed yesterday. You know, this is my afterthoughts about it. This is my recap, and this is what I feel about the fight. The fight was very surprising. All the trash talk, all that was over with. You know, they got into the ring, and both guys showed what they were about. A lot of people think that Floyd carried him or did what he wanted to do. I would totally disagree. The pressure was, no doubt about it, was on Floyd Mayweather. It wasn't on Conor McGregor. It was on Floyd, because Conor came to Floyd's backyard. He took on a sport that he's not familiar with, but that's what made it exciting. You know, there's many boxers that went over on the MMA side, but there hasn't been an MMA guy ever do what Conor McGregor done. You got guys like Tony, I want to say Marcos Maidana, but Ricardo Mayorga. Both of these guys went to MMA, and James Toney didn't have any success at all, but Mayorga did, because he's a brawler. You know, he learned a little ground game, a little jiu-jitsu, but he was much of a striker because he's a boxer or a brawler. But never had one MMA guy come over on this side like Conor McGregor. And but the fight at hand, Conor McGregor won the first 3 rounds. You know, undeniably, because Floyd didn't really do much. I think Floyd had to figure him out. I think Floyd took his time to figure him out. He really didn't know what McGregor was going to do, because he did a lot of things in there. You know, he beat him to the jab, which was surprising. You know, and he's awkward. You know, McGregor was awkward. And if anybody was going to beat Floyd, a special gifted boxer is going to be someone that's unorthodox, someone that's awkward, you know. And he did that for the first 3 rounds. You know, I was kind of like, you know, a deer in headlights, you know, when the first 3 rounds were taking place, because I'm like, okay, what the hell? What's going to happen now? You know, and then Floyd, anytime Floyd did try to counter, he got countered. And that was another surprise. Not only did Conor land those jabs and was jabbing him, you know, it kind of put me in the mind of GGG Jacobs. You know what I mean? He just kept that awkward, stiff jab, and he kept his right arm out, you know, his lead arm extended, so it was kind of hard to counter over that extended arm. And McGregor does have, what, a 74-inch reach, right, or a 75-inch reach, you know, 74-inch reach, and Floyd has a 72. So, you know, it was difficult for Floyd to get inside. So Floyd did have to change it up around the rounds 4 and 5, simply because he knew he couldn't sit outside anymore, because he knew he was liable to get countered just like he did in the first early rounds. So what he had to do, he had to switch it up. He had to come straight in, you know, with his guard up, you know, and use his defense, so he would be already in position to punch. And that's how he got those punches off. A lot of people don't understand that. They say, oh, he could have done what he wanted to do. No, he did what he had to do. You know, I mean, he could have boxed, but it was difficult for him to box outside. He had to come inside with his guard straight up, you know, so he could be close enough to get those shots off, you know, to get that lead right hand off, and to get that check hit left hook off that he was throwing, you know, and that jab to the body, you know. But, you know, that's what was one of the most important things for Floyd. He had to have that. This had to happen. What else? McGregor he was starting to gas, you know, and I was kind of surprised at that, because he wasn't throwing hooks. He wasn't, I mean, elbows. He wasn't throwing kicks. So, you know, because I'm, you know, I train both. You know, I train MMA and I box. And I know one thing, when I spar, especially with MMA, you know, you throw a kick, that takes a lot of energy. But one thing McGregor, he didn't anticipate is it's the constant clinching. See, in MMA, you can clinch even if you're on the ground, you know, and you're rolling. You have that time to take your breath, but you don't have that time in boxing. See, when you clinch up, the referee automatically breaks you out. Then you have to reset your punch. Then you have to reset to fight again. And that was bothering Conor. All that break, stopping and going was wearing him out, to the point he didn't have that time to hold Mayweather and take that breather, because Bird would come in and break them right up, and because that's the job of the referee, to make sure the fight's clean, to make sure that's not any long, drawn out clinches. And that's what Bird was doing. I'm going to get to Bird in a second. But as he started to tire and Floyd was close, he did start ripping off those shots. He was throwing those right leads, and he was following with the left hook, but he was already in position. He didn't have to fight, so at the beginning of each round, you notice Conor McGregor started throwing a lot of vicious punches. He he hit him with hammerhead. He hit him with some hammerhead. So he hit him with some MMA, which is expected because he's a striker. That's a MMA strike, a UFC strike. So, but he took all that punishment to stay right where he was at. And a lot of people was like oohs and ahs, especially like the Conor fans. But Floyd was already there to set up those punches, and then like Conor McGregor said, he stayed consistent, which he did. He stayed right there in the pocket. So when those punches became available, he ripped those shots off, and then as Conor started to fatigue, those punches got a little harder, and Floyd started, sitting on those punches a lot more than he normally does, but it was a classic fight. It kind of reminds me of Ricky Hatton and Floyd Mayweather back in '08, when Floyd retired for the first time, right? Because he retired, twice already. And that was a beautiful display of how a fighter, picks his shots like he did in the later of these rounds. However, now let's get to what this is really about, the referee. The referee, I've done many videos about referees, and one in particular was the referee last night. Referee Bird, the fight was premature. He stopped it too fast. And see, what he did was, sure, it was a lot of clinching. It was a lot of fouls. It was a lot of things that Conor was doing that, certain things, like the hammerheads, the hammerhead illegal strikes, the excessive holding. But they should have had another referee. Referee Bird has been around for a long time, but he stopped that fight too fast. All he really did, he gave the Floyd fans and the McGregor fans an excuse. That's all it is, to say, hey, the fight was stopped, and it really robs Floyd Mayweather of a solid victory. You don't see Conor bitching, though. That's one thing you got to give to him. He could have said, yeah, it was premature, which he did, but he didn't lean on that reason. A lot of people would be butthurt, like Kovalev, right? He didn't do a Kovalev. He was just a stand-up guy and said, hey, because he knew he was gassed out and he would have had it. But, okay, something a person would have done, you can't save a person. And I know it's the referee's job to protect the fighter. I understand that. I know boxing. I know the boxing rules. But another thing that didn't really sit right with me is if there was no standing 8 count, but then there was no 3 knockdown rule, that's kind of like that's an oxymoron. I guess he was saying, well, I guess if Conor would have fell to the ground, sure, the 9th round, Floyd was teeing off on him, but you just stopped the fight. He just picked the easy way out. So that gives everyone, especially all the quote-unquote Conor or the racist fans, that only likes Conor because he was white or whatever, that only gives them reason to, to, like an asshole, just give them an excuse to say, oh, well, they need to fight again. If they fought again, it'd probably be more of the same. But let it go. Because Conor is the kind of dude, he never been beat standing up, And Floyd was robbed of that victory. He got the victory, sure, by the referee, but, let Floyd knock him out. Let him go out on his shield, and referees, just like Richard Steele, just like a lot of refs, Russell Mora, these guys, they should never have hosted big fights, ever. Richard Byrd, he's done hundreds of refereeing, and and this is a questionable call, because Floyd, sure, he was ripping shots, he was getting the best of him, he was teeing off on Conor, he was hitting him at will, but that still wasn't enough for him to just stop the fight. You know what I mean? But this is what happens in the sport of boxing when you don't protect yourself. So, you can't be mad. It was a bad stoppage, but it wasn't the worst stoppage. You know what I'm saying? So Floyd really went out there and did his thing once again. And, you just got to really take your hat off to him. Floyd should retire. I did see him slowing down some, and that's what also made the fight really interesting, because Floyd is 40 years old, and I've been telling guys that he slowed down in the last 2 years. He's not the same Floyd as when he fought Berto. He'll have those reflexes, sure. I mean, he could fight longer, but he doesn't need to, and that's all a part of wisdom too. And a lot of things that Floyd has that Sugar Shane Mosley, Roy Jones Jr., Bernard Hopkins, these guys didn't have, because they didn't have enough wisdom to sit their ass down. He does, hopefully. You know what I mean? Hopefully he does. So let's see if he does have that wisdom, because, yeah, he said he retired, but this is his third time retiring, right? So let's see if he actually retires. And then all the naysayers and all the Mayweather haters will come back full force, full-fledged. Yeah, this guy will beat Floyd again. And let's just hope they're wrong. Let's just hope he retires, because he's 40 years old. I seen him slowing down, and that gave Conor McGregor more of a chance of winning, because he was younger, stronger, bigger. You know what I mean? If it really wasn't for cardio, it would have still been a close fight, right? So we would have seen what would have happened, because you never know. This is boxing. Conor could have ripped off a left hand, and stunned Floyd, and then, and that adrenaline would have shot right back into McGregor, and it, who knows? So, by Byrd stopping the fight like that, he just gives everyone into an excuse to say, and do any possible scenario how this fight could have went down, so. But that's really my take on it. It was a good fight. De La Hoya's a hater, but, he has one of the best fighters, Canelo Alvarez, and we have to stay tuned for that versus Triple G on the 16th of September, and that's 3 weeks away. So I look forward to that fight, and I will be reporting it live also. And I've already gave my thoughts about that time and time again. Just look at these videos, and you guys tell me what you think about this. But anyway, this is Kurt DeVille signing off, and you guys all been counterpunched. Peace.